in Vancouver. I'm your host, Zara Durrani. The show is produced with the support of TELUS STORYHIVE. Today, I'm here on the red carpet for the 44th Annual Vancouver International Film Festival. I'm so excited and honored to be here to speak to program curators, filmmakers, and talent. Vancouver International Film Festival has been a cornerstone of Vancouver's cultural landscape, a meeting place where filmmakers, artists, and audiences from around the world come together to celebrate the power of cinema. This year's festival showcases bold new voices, groundbreaking documentaries, and unforgettable stories that reflect the diversity of our city and the global community. Over the next few days, we'll be bringing you behind the scenes, onto the red carpets, and into conversations with visionaries shaping this year's program. From emerging filmmakers to celebrated directors, VIFF continues to be a space where art sparks dialogue and storytelling. Let's go see who's here today. Joining me right now is Allison Reed, award-winning director whose latest film, Art of Adventure, follows the legendary journey of Robert Bateman and Bristol Foster, two friends who set out in the 1950s to drive from Africa to Australia. My goodness.
That's right.
That must have been quite an adventure. So, Allison, welcome to Vancouver.
Thank you. It's fantastic to be here. I couldn't think of a better place to premiere.
So, how excited are you feeling? And tell us a bit about the journey of this amazing story of following these adventure seekers.
Yeah. So Robert Bateman, some people may know him as this iconic wildlife artist. I mean, when I was in my generation, when I was growing up, everyone in Canada knew him. He was a household name. Canada was giving his paintings to the royals as gifts from Canada, things like that. Yeah, very, very high profile wildlife artist. His work is just, it's realism. Wildlife, landscapes, and all that. But he got his start when he was on this journey. So his best friend, biologist Bristol Foster, is also an iconic Canadian. He's known for, one of the many things he's known for is being head of the Ecological Reserves Program here in BC for many years. And so he was able to set aside lots of areas that were very sensitive habitats and protect them. So when these two were in their 20s in 1957, they wanted to explore the world. So they started from Canada. They went to England, where they had this Land Rover custom built with 2 bunks in it. It was an ambulance body. They picked it up there, put a stove in the back, and put it on a ship, shipped down to Africa, and started their journey. So Bristol was filming it on his Bolex camera. So we have all this 16mm footage of the entire journey, and Bob was painting and sketching. So I had all these wonderful tools to tell the film with. And they were also writing letters home, and those letters were published back in Canada in the Toronto Telegram newspaper. It was a column called the Rover Boys, and they followed their journey, across Africa, across India, Malaya, and they had adventures, of course, in each one of these areas. So
I want to hear about your journey of going through this footage, going to Salt Spring and having these interviews with them. Were there moments that you're like, I want to retrace their steps, I want to go take it even further in your personal life, even beyond the film? Yeah,
well, I think that's exactly why I connected with them in this story. And I've got to say, you hit the nail on the head about understanding. I mean, I think this is a point in time in history where we really do need that understanding of other cultures, other ways of life. And when Bristol and Bob did this trip, they didn't do it as tourists. I mean, so many people now go to Spain and all they're doing is taking selfies, or they go to all these places and don't really immerse in the cultures and the the landscapes, and put down your devices and just be in the moment, and you really, I think they really came back with, they always loved nature, they always felt connected to the planet, but there's no question it really affected them and affected the way they related to it for the rest of their lives. They're true inspirations, and the thing about this film is it's an uplifting film. Like you cannot help but fall in love with these guys. They're so funny, and it's inspirational. I mean, I don't want to give away what happens in the film, but their goal is to inspire, and they really do that. They really do that.
I'm so curious. Like, first of all, congratulations, of course, on all the rave reviews you're receiving. But what really drew you? Where did the curiosity and what attracted you to their story?
Well, it's funny. I came to the story a little bit by accident because my first documentary was called "The Woman Who Loves Giraffes." And it was about a Canadian woman who's known as the Jane Goodall of giraffes, but she was actually the first scientist, Western scientist in the world to study any African mammal in the wild.
Wow.
She went there to South Africa as a 23-year-old because she fell in love with giraffes at 4 and there was no info on them. So she was there before Goodall, but anyway, no one knew about Anne until the film came out, or very few people outside of the giraffe community. But since the film came out, she's got a lot of accolades, and including the Order of Canada. So it's a really great story. Anyway, she was in the same university class as Bob and Bristol. So they were all in the same friendship circle. And when I was making The Woman Who Loves Giraffes, I had reached out to them for photographs, and my partner and I happened to be vacationing on Salt Spring Island, and I thought, why don't we just look them up? And so we had lunch with them, and then I heard about this story and this trip around the world, and I was like, oh my gosh, how can I not make this film? Yeah.
So much synchronicity there.
Yes.
It's like you were meant to create this project.
Yeah.
So when you first saw their 16 millimeter footage, what did you feel as a filmmaker, as a human being, as an adventure seeker? Because it's sort of, obviously you're following these folks who are going on these wild adventures, who are very curious and also educators, but I feel like you are them. It's sort of like mirroring. And then now you get to share their story with the rest of us through your eyes.
That's right. Yeah. So I started in the film and television industry as a stunt performer and stunt coordinator. Woo! So I'm particularly drawn to adventures.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons I connected to them so well. And seeing that footage, when you think that was 68 years ago that journey was captured, and the world has changed so much. So it really is a special thing to be able to go on that journey with them, because we couldn't make that journey today. We can make our own journeys, but they'll be very different, than Bob and Bristol experienced. So being able to immerse ourselves in what they experienced at that time is really cool.
How do you think adventure and nature help us reconnect to ourselves, to our community, to our environment?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that we're all, me included, we're going so fast that we just don't take the time to really absorb this planet is so freaking incredible, and there's connecting with the natural world is so good for our mental and physical health. And if we just take a step back and make the effort to do that, I think that we'll all feel a lot better and be more connected to ways that we can protect it,
I'm curious about your journey as a filmmaker.
Well, it's interesting because I've always had that want to tell stories in me. And the nice thing about my career is I've been able to, do projects as a gun for hire, which I also love because, when I'm being hired as a episodic television director, that's my one focus, and I can really immerse in that. When I'm making my own passion projects, which I also love to do, I'm wearing way more hats, and it's way more pressure, but it's also a story that I'm, particularly want to tell. So I like having both aspects to my career. It's really. It's funny connecting with other filmmakers here at VIFF because we're all the same. It takes so much tenacity to get a film made these days. No matter who you are, no matter what your track record is, no one says, "Oh, it was easy. I just applied for the funding and the broadcasters came on and we just made the film." No one has a story like that. So it's just been great to connect with other filmmakers and feel camaraderie with them about and feel their passion about the stories they want to tell as well.
And what advice would you give to young women out there who are wanting to get into filmmaking, documentary films particularly?
Well, it's funny. I mean, the advice is just do not let go of your dreams. Like, if you've got a dream, if there's something you want to do, pursue it and don't give up. When you're on a film set, the nice thing about people in film, whether it's a grip or the craft service person, or everyone has a story that they want to tell and a film idea. And very few of those films get made. And it's just tenacity. I mean, in making this film, with Robert Bateman attached to it, I thought it would be a slam dunk. And, it wasn't. It's taken me 4 years to make the film. But I've received a lot of no's, and sometimes like it was 3 no's from the same entity, and then it turned into a yes. So don't worry about the no's. It's only the yeses that count, and just keep on going until you find them.
Well, thank you so much, Allison. Make sure, folks, to watch Art of Adventure. Joining me today, I'm so honored to be sitting down here with Phil Grabsky, who is an award-winning filmmaker and co-director, and we're going to be talking about his latest project. Phil, welcome to Vancouver. How are you feeling?
Great. Best festival in the world. Always happy to be here. I think this might be the 14th time I've been invited to show a film. So I know the festival well. And it's actually one of the few festivals I always will say yes to because it's so good.
Amazing. And where are you coming from?
Brighton, England.
Wow, long flight.
Long flight.
How's the jet lag treating you?
Fine. No jet lag.
So your film is screening this evening,
Yes.
Caravaggio. What first drew you personally to his art and his story?
So the way that things have worked out in my career, which is 40 years now of making documentaries, is I have done an awful lot of biographies. The majority of the films, funnily enough, have been biographies one way or another. And we have a cinema brand called Exhibition on Screen, which started in 2011, where we bring feature films to cinemas around the world, including Canada. And we have made films about most of the greatest artists in history: Vermeer, Van Gogh, Rembrandt, Monet, etc., etc. I've wanted to make a film about Caravaggio for a long time. This particular film has been at least 5 years in production. I mean, we're doing other things at the same time. The challenge with Caravaggio is that there have been other films made about him, but the advantage is that they all get him wrong. The other thing that we do with our films is we focus on the art rather than on some of the kind of mythology or the legend. Why make a film about Caravaggio? Because he is unquestionably one of the greatest artists of all time. And I think if you can't spend 90 minutes in the company of one of the greatest artists of all time, you are too busy.
Amazing. How are you feeling about the screening this evening, and what are you hoping the audiences will learn about him, that what they're not familiar with, and what they're going to take away, how they'll be moved by his story?
So there are certain artists which are on, in the pantheon, and it's forever debated, but you have, from the Renaissance, certainly Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael. A few decades afterwards comes Caravaggio, moving into the Baroque, but he is as great as they are. The extraordinary thing, of course, is that he's often painting in situ, i.e. he's painting in a church in Rome or in Naples, and those paintings are still there. And he was revolutionary. Revolutionary in the way that he painted, revolutionary in the sense that he puts himself in the paintings very often, which didn't happen except with occasional exceptions before. So his biography is reflected in the paintings. And he's also an extraordinarily, I mean, he's a storyteller. I would hope that every filmmaker in Vancouver would first and foremost say, we are storytellers. And no matter how fancy your filming is, your cinematography or your music score or whatever you're editing, ultimately it's about storytelling. These great artists are master storytellers. So, but the myth of Caravaggio, which is based on fact, is that he was always in trouble with police. He did kill a man. He did go on the run. You know, he's fleeing the Pope. He then goes to Malta. He gets into trouble in Malta as well. And he's then fleeing the Knights of Malta. They want to kill him. And then, you know, all of that is true. And in fact, our film, we have an actor playing Caravaggio on a boat from Naples to Rome, which we know as fact. And he's going back to Rome because he thinks he's got a pardon. And he wants to be in Rome. There's various reasons why he wants to go back to Rome. But he knows that it can go one of two ways. Either he's going to be lauded and cheered back into Rome as the greatest artist in Italy and therefore probably Western Europe at that time, the Western world, or he's going to be assassinated. Whatever people will claim, nobody knows what happens, but what we do know is he disappears. So you can draw your own conclusions, and the film kind of investigates this a little bit. But the biography is so exciting and so dramatic that that's what everyone focuses on, to the exclusion of the artwork. Now, he's portrayed as this kind of always very handsome Italian, always sweaty, just always getting into trouble, in fights, obviously murdering somebody. But you have to then look at the paintings and say, well, hold on a minute, that isn't really helping me understand these paintings, which are deeply religious and quite extraordinary, and, as I say, revolutionary. So what we do is we start with the paintings. What are the paintings telling us about his life story, about what he's trying to achieve, and about what happens to him? Tonight is actually the first public presentation of the finished film.
Wow.
We've only had one previous screening where we showed an unfinished film at another film festival. That was very encouraging because out of many, many films, it won the Audience Award. So we thought, that's good, because it's not even finished. But tonight will be the first time it's being shown to a paying audience, if you like. And then in November, it goes worldwide. I mean, we're in 60 countries, including Canada. And then we'll see.
Wonderful. I know you have to run. I just want to ask one last question before you leave. Why do you believe cultural storytelling, whether through film, painting, or festivals like VIFF, is so important today?
Well, I mean, you know, Caravaggio remains one of the greatest artists of all time through the centuries. We're talking 400 years now, because he's a master storyteller. And you know what I'm trying to do as a filmmaker is you know, aspire in that direction. I would never compare myself to a Caravaggio, and I think that you know, we have to have a point of view. I think it has to be a balanced point of view, but one based, as I said earlier, on respect, trying to help the community, however large that is. And I think culture plays an enormous role. And, you know, in many ways, I mean, it's constantly changing. Obviously, in the last 40 years, the changes in my working life are immense. In some ways, things have got worse. And in many ways, they've got better. And you're constantly kind of navigating your way around it. But the pressures on the arts now are quite extraordinary and not all good. And again, we've seen that in many countries, not least, again, in the United States recently, where, you know, the arts funding gets cut way before military spending gets cut, for example. And I just think that is a really stupid thing to do, you know, for all sorts of reasons. You know, long live VIFF for like promoting films and encouraging films and filmmakers, and there are plenty other festivals too. But you know, I see it when I try to sell these films to the international community, broadcasters, which in some ways you could argue it is changing, but are still perhaps the major conduit of information to people which are barely interested. And I think that's if I used to make films from arts and entertainment, A&E, and the A stood for arts. The last time I looked, they had, in peak time, 6 programs of storage walls back to back, which is basically about greed. We're going to bid on what's in that storage. We don't know. We'll have to smash the padlock. And we're hoping that there's stuff in there, which is stuff that belonged to a human being that's, for some reason, they've not come back to. That could be quite sad reasons. We're going to smash the padlock, go inside and see what we can make money from. Well, what's the benefit in all that? So, we fight the good fight. There aren't actually that many of us who make feature documentaries about artists, but the audience is there. I mean, as I said, I think we're up to about 6 or 7 million seats sold with our films. So the audiences are interested. And fortunately, there are more and more cinemas that have the capabilities of showing these films. So here, VIFF, all right, it'll play for 3. So they'll have 3 screenings at the festival, but then it will also play at the VIFF cinema subsequently as well, which is beautiful cinema.
Brilliant. Well, we're so glad you're doing what
Thank
you're
you.
doing and you're passionate. I know you have to run to catch a movie. One last thing, what films are you looking forward to and what are you watching because you have to go watch a movie right now?
One of the great things about VIFF, and I do go to other festivals, is that the program is so strong. So I'm off now to see a film about, it's called The Prosecutors, I'm assuming I can get in, which is about Russian history. I mean, for me, I like films which tell me something about the world. That's just what I'm interested in. Well, I guess all films tell you something about the world, but I like things which are kind of slightly more factually based. But I've seen a few films. The trouble is the choice. And of course, it may be changing with streaming. The sad thing, of course, is of these 200 films, once the festival is over, how many of them will I be able to track down and watch in other ways?
So that means you'll be barely sleeping, but we want to make sure that you catch your movie, Phil. I'm so excited I got to speak to you. I'm excited to see the rest of your work because I'm very passionate about some of those artists and also very excited about Caravaggio.
Exhibitiononscreen.com.
Wonderful.
All there.
Truly excited. From Canada as well as around the world, joining me now is Jennifer Chu, whose film Clan of the Painted Lady will be premiering at the festival. Jennifer, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm good, thank you. I'm feeling good.
Are you excited? You're here?
I am really excited, yeah.
So tell us about Clan of the Painted Lady.
So Clan of the Painted Lady is a personal documentary that I made about my journey tracing my family's migration story from China to India to Canada. And it's also an exploration of my Hakka heritage. And it's something that I learned a lot about over the last few years. The Hakka people are known as the nomadic people of China. And so our origin story is kind of mysterious. They say that we originated somewhere in the north of China and then spent 1,000 years migrating eventually to the south. And then from there, spreading out all across the world.
China also neighbors Pakistan. So I know a lot of family members who went to China for work and everything. I've never really had an opportunity to go other than spend some time in Gwangju, but it's certainly on my list of places to go and experience and adventure around. What are you hoping audiences will learn, and what kind of conversations are you hoping that they will have by watching Clan of the Painted Lady?
I hope that it will inspire people to ask questions of their own families and to become curious about their own traditions and backgrounds. I feel really strongly that we are in, I think, a crucial moment now where there's so many cultures that are facing extinction. And that's not just in the Western world, that's actually everywhere. I know just from friends who are Hakka, who grew up in Guangzhou, they're saying that even now there are Hakka people who don't speak Hakka, even in China, just because everyone is speaking Mandarin now. People are moving out of the villages where, they have more contact with elders or people who have have kept the languages and certain traditions. And so, yeah, I'm hopeful that it will make people just value their own traditions and cultures and try and learn more about them.
That seems to be a theme today from the conversations that I'm having. I can relate very much. You've mentioned it's a personal and collective story. How did you balance being a filmmaker and, diving in? I'm sure it must be healing and emotional at the same time.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I would say, making a personal film, it's a lot of hard work. I think there's a lot of emotional journeys that you go through, and especially working with my family as well. For them, the first 3 years that we were in development, they actually didn't want to be in the film. And so very, very last minute, right before we went to camera, they agreed to. And that was really lovely, because I think in the beginning I understood why they didn't want to be in the film. They're quite private people themselves. So, and I feel like I have that in me too. So it took a lot for me to also be in my own movie. Sorry, you were saying balancing just being a filmmaker. I think that it was definitely a negotiation for me to balance being both in front of and behind the camera.
And the filmmaker who you met briefly, Kent, a similar story, but I think also very important conversations and healing. I'm sure for yourself, but also for audiences who will get to watch. I moved from Pakistan to Canada at 17, so almost 26 years ago. And, and sometimes there is like internalized colonialism around when it comes to language and culture, traditions, even food. And, because you're hoping to find success and here out west, but there is, I'm glad that filmmakers like you and Kent exist, who are reminding us to connect to your roots, even if you're calling and finding success here, which we're so all grateful to live here. Migration, language, and memory are powerful threads in this film. The Hakka story spans continents. What does this global journey reveal about resilience and belonging?
So I thought a lot about this, because one of the questions that I had for, especially a lot of my Hakka participants and all my, my new friends that are in the film, I wanted to understand what it was that bound us together. What is it that we really share when so many of us are from completely different backgrounds? Some of us grew up in Jamaica and in Mauritius and Vietnam and, Taiwan, Canada. I think in the end, what I realized that we share is it's a story. We share a story of being part of this very long journey that began in a specific place in China, but is, continuing onwards across the world. So I think that to me, that to me felt really kind of powerful, that is really what binds us together. So,
how has reconnecting with your heritage changed your sense of what it means to be Canadian?
I've always been very grateful for, the privilege of getting to live in this place on Indigenous lands, and I think that it's allowed me actually to appreciate just how diverse the idea of being Canadian is. Somewhat in the same way as the film is also an exploration of Chinese identity, but with a very specific focus on Hakka. But it's allowed me to think past the idea of monolith sort of descriptions of what it is to be Chinese or Canadian. So I think it's expanded my idea of what both of those things are.
If your ancestors could watch this film, what would you imagine for them to say about it?
Oh, sorry, that question makes me feel emotional, because I prayed to them while I was doing the film, and I knew that they were, sort of guiding me on this. And I would always ask them, sort of in meditation, what is it? Why am I doing this? Because sometimes it wasn't easy, But I hope that I just hope that they're proud of my efforts, and I hope that they feel like I honored the story of our people.
Beautifully said. Well, thank you so much. I know you have to run. Before we let you go, lastly, I'd love to hear what advice would you give to aspiring filmmakers out there, especially women filmmakers and minorities?
I would say believe in yourself and just keep trying. You know, it took me 10 years to get to this place where I am right now, making my first feature. So just keep on trying. And community, I think, is everything. You know, make connections with people in the city who are also aspiring to make films or are making films. We actually have a really beautiful and supportive community of filmmakers here. So just get involved and don't be discouraged. It takes time.
Completely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come out. I know you're going to be running around everywhere. It's a very busy time of the year, festival season. Congratulations, Jennifer. And I'm really excited to sit down and properly watch it in the theater. And
thank you.
Are you going to be present for any Q&As for both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be present at both the screenings for October 6th and October 9th.
Amazing. Congratulations again. And make sure to check out Clan of the Painted Lady. Until next time, I'm Zara Durrani, and this is On Location Vancouver, brought to you with the support of TELUS STORYHIVE. We'll see you soon.
Well, folks, what an extraordinary evening here tonight on the red carpet for the 44th Annual Vancouver International Film Festival. Tonight, we witnessed how film transcends borders, inspires empathy, and brings communities together. From powerful documentaries to cinematic debuts, VIFF has once again proven itself to be a platform for voices that challenge, inspire, and move us. A heartfelt thank you to the festival organizers, the artists, and to TELUS STORYHIVE for supporting local storytellers and amplifying diverse perspectives. Until next time, I'm your host, Zara Durrani, and this has been On Location Vancouver here at the 44th Annual Vancouver International Film Festival. Thank you all for tuning in and watching On Location Vancouver. If you'd like to share your story with us and be a guest on the show, please scan the QR code and someone from our team will get in touch with you. We'll see you soon.